This exercise is going to be the goblet squat. Now you're going to need a dumbbell or kettlebell for this exercise, and depending on the individual, maybe even a box at different levels. Now for a goblet squat, you're going to grab your weight and you're going to hold it off your chest here. Or when I'm holding my weight off my chest, it's not on my chest and it's not way out here. Kind of find that middle ground. Now we want to create a bottom up approach, creating tension. So here's what that means. You're going to start with the feet. You're going to spread out the toes on the floor. You're going to drive your toes into the ground like they are roots of a tree. And then you're going to torque your feet outward without actually moving your feet. And that will immediately create some tension in the hips here. I'm going to squeeze the glutes. And then from here, you want to make sure that your low back is not super pushed out like this, super arched like this. So you're going to tuck in your hips just a little bit. Squeeze the glutes, engage your core. So you want to keep your ribs from being flared out like this. So push those ribs down, keep that core nice and tight. And now we can create tension with our upper body and the weight here. So I'm going to drive my shoulders out instead of squeezing in. All right, we want to create some shoulder stability. So we do that by pushing out and then drive your hips down towards the floor. And I'm gonna squeeze my elbows inward together. And now from here, I'm going to hinge my hips a bit. If you don't know what a hinge is, check out my other video on how to hinge. But you're going to push your butt back a little bit and at the same time, drop your hips down, drop your butt down, pushing your knees forward over the toes, going as far as you comfortably can, keeping a neutral spine. So I don't want my back to be rounding forward or arching. And we want to go as low as you can without that hips, without your butt winking underneath you. And this is where the box can come in handy. So you will need either an assistance, somebody, a partner with you, or record yourself squatting. Because you want to squat down to a box right before the butt winks under your legs like a scared dog. So if my butt starts to wink right below this point, that's where I want to stop. I want to stop at that box and then come back up. Here's what I'm not doing. I'm not sitting on the box. I'm just going to the point where I can feel it and then come back up. Over time, you ideally want to be able to go lower and lower until the point where you are at a full range. Now that requires three things: ankle mobility, hip mobility, and core stability. So work on those three things, especially if you know that you lack ankle mobility. Put that into your warm-up before squats. And getting out of the bottom position of your squat. Sometimes if you lack the strength of your quads and it's all hip, what that will look like is this: hips hyping up first and then coming up. You want to try and avoid that. You're going to want to try and raise your chest and your hips up at the same time. So it looks like this. If you are using too heavy of a weight and you can do this first, but you can't come up first, then the weight is too heavy. So drop the weight so you can rise up at the same time. Last point for your squat, and this is the same for deadlifts, is avoid pushing your hips forward too much like this. All that's doing is putting a lot of compression forces in the low back, and you want to avoid that. So when you're squatting, you want to come up just the point where you're standing tall, squeezing the butt, but you're not pushing your hips out forward like this. There you have it. There is your goblet squats.